everyone, my name is Rebecca. Let's talk about makeup. So it has been a hot minute. This is my first time filming since I had my baby at the end of April, other than a quick little funny short that I put up recently. So bear with me while I try to remember how to do this. You're probably looking at the title of this video and thinking, Rebecca, 50 Shades of Brown wrapped up back in April. It is June. And you would be correct. I actually even have my 50 Shades of Black intro already up. I think that actually went up back in April. But I had actually pre-filmed that video by quite a bit. And I didn't do the same for my 50 Shades of Brown finale because I was trying to complete those products with the time that I had remaining. And by the time the finale for that project rolled around, it was very shortly before I had my baby, and I just ran out of time, y'all. I just ran out of time. So I did want to come back here real quick and share my final numbers with you guys. This isn't going to be quite as comprehensive a roundup as I would like it to be, but this is one of my most complex projects, if not my most complex project to track and to film with all the weights and the pictures. And my daughter is 5 weeks old right now, and I just don't have the mental bandwidth to get into all of the nitty gritty. So I'm going to have like weights and everything for you on the products that I finished, but we're just going to kind of breeze past the ones that I did not finish. I'm going to talk about all of the products that I finished from the beginning of the project. Quite a few of these have already gone out and emptied, so I won't necessarily have them to show you. If I have a picture, I will put one up for you. But you'll have heard me talk about those ones at greater length in previous updates, and probably also in my empties roundup videos as part of my empties. So the first one that I know that I have talked to you guys several times about is my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood contour wand. I finished this, I think, in October of last year. No, it was August of last year. Finished it in August of last year. When it came to the project, it was weighing at 4 grams even, and at the end it was at 11.74 grams, which adds up to 2.26 grams of product completed within this project. I also was able to complete the Milani Soft Focus Glow. It was a face illuminator that I ended up using on my body, and I actually really enjoyed it. I don't have any weights for this. I was a little bit inconsistent at the beginning of this project. Last year was my first year panning ever, and it has taken a while to kind of get into a routine where I'm tracking everything appropriately. So hopefully I'll be a little more consistent with that this year, but I don't have starting weights or weights at all for a few of these products. But I did manage to finish the Milani Soft Focus Glow. Really actually enjoyed it. I didn't love it on my face because it was a little too thick and a little too peachy, but I really enjoyed it on my body. I also finished the Jordana Easy Liner in Coco Loco, an excellent kind of a reddish, deeper reddish brown lip liner that worked really well with a whole lot of different lip combos. Really enjoyed that one. No weights on that one either. I also finished the Mad Hippie Vitamin C Serum. I didn't love that one, and I don't have it written down here. It was back in May of last year that I finished it. I don't have it written down exactly why I didn't like it. I think there was something about the viscosity that I didn't care for, but I'd have to go back and rewatch my June 50 Shades of Brown update in order to refresh my memory on exactly what I didn't love about the application of that product. But I do remember that I also didn't find it to be particularly effective. So the Mad Hippie Vitamin C Serum is not something that I would purchase again, but I did manage to complete it. I also completed the Vuori Citrus Solid Conditioner. It's one of those solid conditioner bars. It was a gift from a friend. Smelled amazing. It came into the project at, let's see, 69.9 grams. I used it 67 times, and I left the project at somewhere under 10 grams. I can't be more specific than that because one of the problems with that conditioner bar is that once it got down to like a tiny little shard of conditioner, it was really difficult to use and it started to shatter all over my shower. Now, if it was a bar of soap, I could stick it in a little mesh bag and use it that way, but unlike soap, the conditioner didn't lather, so it was really hard to get the product through the mesh onto my hair. So that was kind of bothersome, just not really being able to use the last little bits of that conditioner, and also the fact that I didn't find it particularly hydrating. I didn't. However, it did smell wonderful. I also completed the Eliza Vecca Bubble Clay Mask. It's a foaming clay mask. I bought it as kind of like a gag product to use with my little girls. We used it, laughed our heads off, and enjoyed it very much. But I also really enjoyed it just for itself as a clay mask. I managed to get 12 uses out of that product after bringing it into the project, and I really enjoyed it. I have not yet repurchased it, but I almost certainly will in the future because it really is probably one of my favorite masks, clay or otherwise, that I have ever used. Then I also completed my Milani Silky Matte bronzer. This is one of my favorite bronzers, if not my favorite bronzer that I have ever used in my entire life. I finished it in August of last year, and man, what a rush it was to finish that bronzer. I don't think I have ever completely finished a bronzer ever. Generally, what will happen is I will use a bronzer until the pan is so big that the product itself starts to crack around the edges. And I was never committed enough to repress it. So I would just toss the rest and purchase a new one. This is the first time I actually went to the trouble of repressing the remainder and using it until it was absolutely completely gone. And wow, that was so gratifying to do that. The one drawback to that bronzer is the packaging is garbage. The lid broke on me and I ended up having to like stick it into a little dish inside one of my drawers and just open up the drawer in order to dip into it and apply it. And it was not something that I could take with me on the go at all once that packaging had completely broken. So that is my one complaint about that product, but I almost certainly will be repurchasing it in the future once I have gone through a few of my other products that are kind of waiting to be used up in the meantime. I also finished my Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm Powder in the shade Universal. That is my absolute favorite go-to oil controlling primer for the summertime when my oil production is really in full swing. That combined with my Honest Beauty loose setting powder, which is the most mattifying powder I've ever used in my life. Those are just the perfect duo for the middle of summer when nothing will keep me matte. Since I finished that one, I have not repurchased it because I've been trying to work through some other primers that kind of fulfill the same role, even if they don't do it quite as well as the Danessa Myricks it does. But I do see myself repurchasing the Blurring Balm Powder in the future. I also finished my Ordinary Alpha Arbutin and Hyaluronic Acid Serum. I finished that back in June of last year. It was okay. I didn't really see any significant improvement to my skin, so it's not really something that I think I would repurchase in the future. The next one I completed was my Holika Holika Propolis Ampule. It came in a duo with a hydrating overnight cream, which I really enjoyed both of them. But the problem with the Propolis Ampule is that it was so fragranced. It felt like putting straight perfume on my face. Did not enjoy that, but I did manage to finish it. It was very hydrating, which is what it was supposed to do, but the high level of fragrance, even for me, someone who actually prefers a little bit of a pleasant scent in my skincare, and I'm not put off by fragrance at all. It doesn't irritate my skin. It doesn't give me headaches. But man, it was beyond fragranced. It was wild how fragrant that product was. And for that reason alone, I would never repurchase that product. I also finished my Revolution Eye Bright Concealer in the shade Caramel. I honestly did not care for it. It was difficult to blend out. It would get a little patchy and chunky on the cheeks and would sometimes lift what was under it. Because of that, I ended up finishing it out as a mixer for foundations that were a little bit too light for me during the summertime. It was not great for that purpose either. It kind of transferred its sort of patchy foundation lifting properties to whatever I mixed it into. It was not great, but I did manage to get it done. Would not repurchase. Another product that I did not care for but did complete was my Josie Maran Argan Milk Moisturizer. It's one of those non-fragrance products that I really felt like should have been fragranced a little bit because I just didn't love it. Smelled like Play-Doh. It was an odd smell, and I also found that it pilled like crazy. So this was not my favorite moisturizer. I ended up decanting like a sample size of I think it was the Nest. Was it a Nest fragrance? The Seville Orange, I think, maybe, decanting that into the tub and then using it up as a fragranced body lotion, and it was fine for that. I still found that it did pill a little bit. Hated it on my face, didn't love it on my body, but I did get it done. I also finished the Dear My Dew Tranexamic Acid Serum. I actually had 2 bottles in this project. The first one I finished back in September of last year. I used it 31 times. It came into the project at 59.37 grams and left the project at 34.56 grams. I am currently working on my 3rd bottle of it, and I will probably purchase a 4th once this one is done as well. I also finished my Gerard Slay All Day setting spray. This has become, I think, one of my favorite setting sprays. I got it in the coconut scent, which I find very pleasant, and that's how I justified rolling it into my 50 Shades of Brown project pan, because coconuts are brown, right? It is not nearly as heavy duty as some of the others that I have used, like the One Size, the Charlotte Tilbury, or the Urban Decay All Nighter. It's much more of an everyday setting spray for me, particularly in summertime when I have more struggles with longevity when it comes to my makeup. But I do find it a little bit more effective than my previous everyday setting spray, which was the Sephora All Day Setting Spray. My makeup does last a bit longer using the Gerard than it does with the Sephora. The Gerard is a little bit more expensive than Sephora is. Then I also finished 2 tubes of the Purito BB cream. Because there was so little left in each tube, I counted them both as a single product, but I had it in the shade 23 and in the shade 27. 23 is more of a wintertime shade for me. 27 is usually better for me in the summer, and then I can mix the two as necessary throughout the rest of the year. This is one of those products that I don't necessarily need to mix with a blue mixer in order to make it work on my skin, which is always nice. It's always nice not to have to do that extra step. In any case, I was able to finish both tubes by November of last year. I may purchase it again in the future. I do feel like the Purito is right about on par with the Misha BB cream for me. So I'm not sure if I would repurchase that one or if I would go for the Misha. It probably would mostly be down to cost for me at that point. I also completed the Physicians Formula Eye Booster in the shade brown. I finished this back in December. After 36 uses. Eye booster liners are really, really nice, especially if you enjoy a good brush tip as I do. And man, those eyeliners just go and go forever. So here's a product that I had a usage goal on. It was my Tarte Breezy Cream Bronzer in the shade Seychelles. I had a 30 use goal for this one, and I did manage to complete all 30 uses. I did not care for this product. This was just too orange for me. I was able to use it during the summertime because once I have a little bit of a tan, some of the warmer overtone that I have comes out a little bit, and I can get away with a little bit more warmth in my makeup. But I don't know, I didn't really care for the formula either. Even though I could get away with this one during the summertime when I had a little bit more color to my skin, I never really loved the way it looked either. It didn't look crazy the way it would look if I tried to use it during the wintertime, because it looked crazy, straight orange, okay? Traffic cone orange on me during the wintertime. But even during the summertime when it didn't look crazy, it didn't look amazing either. So I actually ended up decluttering this one as soon as I met my 30 use goal. I did manage to hit quite a large pan on the product before getting rid of it, so I'm content with that. The next thing that I completed was my Bobbi Brown foundation stick. It was in the shade, I think, Cool Ivory. It was a little bit on the light side for me even in the wintertime, but I could usually make it work, especially if I augmented a little bit with some bronzer. I finished it in February of this year after 15 total uses. It came into the project at 25.79 grams and it left the project at 25 grams even. So in total, it was 0.79 grams of product. That's not a ton of product. It didn't have a ton of product when it came into the project. It was one of those products that I was just really having trouble finishing, and that's just because it wasn't right for my skin type. It was a little bit too emollient for me, even in the wintertime. It is probably something that I should have just decluttered, but I'm glad that I was able to finish it instead. It is a lovely product if you need something that's a little bit more hydrating, a little bit more dewy than something that I would necessarily go for. I also finished my NYX Brown Retractable Liner after 21 uses. I finished that in February of this year. So that's my second eyeliner that I finished in this project, and I'm very happy with that. I also finished my Milani Shoop Lip Liner, which is my second lip liner that I finished in this project. It came in the Shoop Duo, the Salt and Pepper collab that Milani did a while back. It came with a lipstick that is also in this project, but that I did not complete. We'll talk about that one in a little bit. I finished the Shoop liner after 28 uses in this project. Another product that I managed to finish was my Salt New York Sneaky Balm in the shade N10. I finished this one in March of this year. It came into the project at 5.75 grams. The final weight was 4.2 grams, so that's 1.63 grams of product used up over 25 uses in this project. I really, really enjoy the Sneaky Balm. It is a very, very sheer, very emollient product. It does not have a ton of coverage, but it is basically invisible on your skin. So for those instances where I don't want to wear a full face of makeup, but I just want a little something to just help even things out a little bit on my skin, The Sneaky Balm was perfect for that. Also in March, I finished another bottle of my Dear My Dew Tranexamic Acid Serum. This one I got 27 uses out of. It came into the project at 59.37 grams. It finished the project at 36.64 grams. And so I got about 22.73 grams of product out of that bottle in this project over 27 uses. A couple more Salt New York products. I had a highlight and a contour product rolled into this project for 30 uses a piece, and I did meet that goal. I used the contour 32 times, I used the highlight 30 times. I didn't get any weights on the contour for whatever reason, but for the highlight, it came into the project at 9.38 grams, and it left the project at 8.80 grams after 30 uses. So that was 0.58 grams used over that 30 uses. So here's one that I actually have to show you. This is my Sephora Colorful Shadow and Liner Stick in the shade Cafe au Lait. I didn't think I was going to be able to finish this, you guys. I think I had it around here, and I started sharpening it, and I would use it, and I would immediately need to sharpen it again before using it on the other eye. And what I found out was that there was a big vacancy at the bottom of the stick. And once we got it sharpened down to a certain amount, it just started sinking down into the rest of the bullet. So there is more product in there, but there's no way for me to get to that. This one came into the project at 8.81 grams. It left the project at 3.49 grams. So that is a total of 5.32 grams used over 84 uses in this project. So yeah, I got a ton of use out of this one. Super happy with being able to finish this one up. I have another Holika product here. This is the Honey Blueberry Sleeping Pack. This is a very heavy glass jar. And she is all gone. This is a super hydrating sleeping pack. It was mostly a wintertime moisturizer for me, a little bit on the sticky side. I do find that a lot of the sleeping packs are a little bit sticky, but it was super duper hydrating, really nice, especially in the wintertime. And it smells lovely. I think I picked it up at TJ Maxx, and if I were to see it there again, I think I probably would pick it up again because it really was very nice. Now I don't have any weights on this one. I don't think I took a starting weight on this one just because the jar was so heavy. I didn't think that my gram scale would permit it, although I could be wrong. I might have just been too lazy to do it. However, I did get 62 uses out of this jar in this project, and I am very pleased to have finished it. Another one I wasn't sure I was going to be able to finish. I mean, it's a tiny little product, it's a mini, so I thought I would be able to finish it, but as the end of the project started to grow near, I started to doubt myself about whether or not I was going to be able to finish it because it just kept going. It just kept going. Now, granted, I did have to rehydrate this a couple times just to get as much product as I possibly could out of it, but this is a little mini of the Huda Liquid Matte melted shadow in the shade Cinnamon Toast. This is a very kind of a reddish brown liquid shadow that I actually ended up using several times as a blush as well, kind of a bronzer type situation. It's got enough red and enough brown, but it kind of strides that line between a blush and a bronzer, which if you have been following me for any length, you know I love that sort of thing. So even using it on my eyes, using it on my cheeks, I even used it on my lips a couple of times, although I don't know for sure that this is lip safe. It probably isn't, to be honest, but I managed to finish this in April. You can see I scraped as much of it out of there. I went in there with a little spatula, scraped as much out as I possibly could. This was really nice as an eye primer, and it made one of the most long-lasting blushes that I have ever used in my life. I managed to get 38 uses out of this little tiny container, and that was after it had already been in another project at the beginning of last year before I rolled it into 50 Shades of Brown. So I got quite a lot of use out of this product since the beginning of last year. It came into this project at 12.24 grams and went out at 11.30 grams. So I managed to get just shy of a single gram of product out of this tiny little vial, and I am very pleased with being able to complete it. I have another usage goal for you. This is the Kiko Milano bronzer in the shade 06. This is it here. I had it rolled in for 30 uses. I actually ended up using it several more times. I think I used it 38 times. That's right. Ended up using it 38 times. On the 31st use is when we hit pan. And so I was super pleased with being able to hit pan on another bronzer in this project. When I rolled it in, it was at 59.32 grams, and it rolled out at 57.61 grams. So that was a total of 2.01 grams of product used up in this project. This is a beautiful bronzer. To be honest, it had kind of sat around in my collection for a while before I rolled into this project, and I didn't realize what a lovely, lovely product it is. It is super silky and soft. It is more on the light side, so it is definitely more of a wintertime bronzer for me, although it can be built up. I think when I'm at my deepest, this probably would not translate well on my skin, but it was especially nice during the wintertime when things have a tendency to turn a little bit orange on my skin. Really, really lovely. Very much enjoyed that. Glad I was able to get so much use on it. Here's another one I did not think I was going to be able to finish. This is the Cover FX Custom Enhancer Drops in the shade Rose Gold. And it's hard to see that it is finished. Let me peel back you can see the windowing here. You can also see daylight at the end of that bottle. I did not care for this as a highlight. I found it super sparkly. Although I was able to get a little bit more use out of it during the wintertime because I feel like the sparkle didn't really come out unless you were under direct sunlight. And so for that reason, I didn't really like it on my face, and I didn't really like it all that much as a body highlighter either. I thought it would be the perfect body highlighter, but I just don't want to look like Edward Cullen when I'm out in the sun just sparkling like crazy. The majority of this I managed to use up as part of a body oil and in a body moisturizer. Most of the time I was applying it before bed, so I was just getting my sheets glittery. Nobody was really seeing it. It was a little bit of a cop-out, I acknowledge that, but it was really the only way I could see to get this one finished, and finished it is. I finished it in April after 40 uses. So it came to the project at 54.13 grams. It left the project at 43.41 grams. That is a total of 10.72 grams of product used up in this project. So I'm really glad to have this one finished and out of my collection. The last 6 products that I have to show you are all the shadows from my Glamlight and Hershey's Kisses Milk Chocolate palette here. I had rolled each of these shadows in individually for 30 uses a piece, and I met that goal on all of them. I know that on several of them I exceeded that goal. I went into the 40s with some of these shadows, but I have lost the sticky note where I was tracking it. So I can't tell you exactly how many times I used each one of these shadows, but I used each one of them a minimum of 30 times. I really, really enjoyed this palette. I got some great looks out of this. I know it's just a whole lot of brown here, except for this one, which is a silver. But I could get a very soft, easy, everyday look out of this, and I could also go full drama and sparkle, and I just love having that kind of a range in my eyeshadow palettes. Really, really enjoyed this one. Formula is gorgeous, unmatched, just beautiful. So those are all the products that I finished. Let's really quickly talk about the ones that I did not finish. I'm not going to have weights or photos or anything of these. I have a few of them that I can hold up to you. Some of them I do not, but we're just doing our best here. So Juvia's Place Brown Sugar Gloss. It was dumb of me to roll this in the first place. I rolled it in because it's brown, but I use this as a mixer for other lip products. So I add it to other lip products that I feel like are a little bit too saturated. They need a little grunging up, you know what I'm saying? And because of that, I use very, very little of this every time I use it. And there was just no chance. There was no chance of me being able to finish this one. It was just not happening. So I used it a total of 27 times in this project. At a certain point, I realized it just wasn't going to happen. And I just stuck it back in my drawer and concentrated on the other things I had a better chance at. I also had 2 nail polishes. I had my Beetles B701 nail polish and my Chow magnetic polish. I used the Beetles gel polish. Let's see, I used it 8.5 times. I say half because sometimes I only have time to do one hand. And I always mean to go back to do the other hand, but I don't always get to it. So I think there was at least one instance where I did one hand and never got to the other one. So I used it 8.5 times during this project. Did not quite finish it. It's my favorite pinky nudie brown, but I really have not been doing my nails over the last several months. I just haven't had the time or energy or inclination to do my nails, and so that did not happen at all. For the Chow magnetic polish, I think I only used it once. I think I used it once. I didn't love the base color. I loved the reflect, didn't love the base color. So I only used that once in this project. Another product that I did not finish was my Misho Beauty lip liner in the shade Madam. This is a very, very deep, vampy kind of purpley brown. I just didn't wear a lot of deep lipsticks over the wintertime, which is usually when I pull out my really deep stuff, like my deep burgundies and reds and maroons and that sort of thing. And I just didn't. I was just not reaching for my darker lipsticks over this last winter. So like my Juvia's Place gloss, as soon as I realized I wasn't going to be able, I was not going to be able to finish this, I just stuck it back in the drawer and focused on other things. So I think I got a total of 8 uses out of this product before I realized it just was not happening. Next, I have my ColourPop lip liner in the shade BFF3. This one, I almost finished this one, you guys. I almost finished this one. It was so tiny. And then I misplaced it. Which is hilarious because the whole reason I wasn't able to finish this one was that I lost it for the first like 7 or 8 months of this project. It was in a handbag in the back of my closet and I could not find it. So the fact that I have again lost it and can't show it to you now, that's just... Anyway, moving on. Another product that I did not complete was my Joico Defy Damage Heat Protectant. I only use this, let's see, I think I used this like maybe 12 times. I didn't do a whole lot of heat styling of my hair over the last several months. I just could not be bothered. So this was another one I was not able to complete. Another one I did not quite finish was my Josie Marin Argan Daily Moisturizer SPF 47. This is the tinted version. I really love this. It is super hydrating. It plays really, really well underneath makeup. Really, really nice mineral sunscreen. The reason why I didn't finish this over this last winter was because I realized that my Naturium sunscreen was expiring, I think, in March. And so I was kind of racing to finish that one. And so, yeah, I didn't get as much use on this one during this last winter as I normally would. But I'm glad I was able to finish that other one before it expired. So I have a little bit more leeway on this one before it expires, so I should be able to roll it into next fall and use the rest of this up then. I did manage to use it 56 times in this project, so that is a decent amount of use. Another product I wasn't quite able to complete, and I don't know why I don't have it here to show you. Where did I put it? Where did I put my L-ascorbic acid powder? Okay, it's on my shelf right there. I don't feel like getting up to get it, but this was my ordinary L-ascorbic acid powder. It is a vitamin C powder. I like to mix it in with my Dear My Dew tranexamic acid serum to create my own little custom vitamin C serum. I really, really enjoy the powder format simply because vitamin C is unstable once mixed with water. So me being not super consistent with my skincare, even at the best of times, a lot of times what would happen with my vitamin C serums is that they would start to oxidize before I could complete them, and it just felt like a waste of money. But being able to have my vitamin C in powder format, which is shelf stable, and then mix it into a serum means that I can be as inconsistent as I want to with my skincare, and I don't have to consistently be throwing away a whole lot of product that I wasn't able to use before it went bad. So I actually, let's see, how many times did I use that one? I actually managed to use my L-ascorbic acid powder 70 times in this project, but there is a lot of product in that jar and I just wasn't able to quite get it finished. Here's one that I didn't even try. Listen, I didn't even try. It's my Viseart Petit Four custom palette. It's a custom palette that I created for myself out of the Lilas Dew and Violetta palettes. So little Petit Four palettes from Viseart, and I created my own little custom palette out of that. And yeah, I used it 3 times. I used it 3 times, and I just, between the milk chocolate palette that I was working on, last year I had 2 palettes that I was working on. I had a bunch of palettes in my color pan project that I was working on. I did not have the time to work on another eyeshadow palette. It was silly of me to have rolled it in the first place. Yeah, anyway, I only managed to get 3 uses on that custom palette in this project. Another product that I had rolled in but did not get very far on was a little jar of champagne nail crystals. I was very much into doing my nails at the beginning of this project and not so much towards the end of this project. So like my nail polishes, I just didn't get to it. It's not something that I managed to incorporate into my routine often enough to make the progress that I was hoping for. I had a second one of the Huda matte, melted matte eyeshadows called Double Pump. I was so busy focusing on the cinnamon toast one that I didn't even use Double Pump. I just didn't use it. I did not reach for it. So that one was not completed. I had a third nail polish. This one was a lacquer nail polish. The other two were gel polishes. This one was a lacquer nail polish called, it was one of the Maybelline Color Show nail polishes called Gilded Rose. It is probably my favorite nail polish of all time. And I used it twice. I used it twice. I just, again, was not really into doing my nails over the last several months of this project. I was also unable to complete my Milani lipstick in the shade Shoop. This is the one that came with the lip liner that I managed to finish. This is a beautiful 90s pinky brown, really, really gorgeous lipstick. Really enjoy this one in. But for whatever reason, I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I rolled it into this project for 100 uses. I don't know. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? I don't think I did my makeup 100 times. I don't think I did my makeup 100 times since rolling this one in. I think I ended up using this one. I think I ended up using it 25 times, but yeah. Total bust on that one. Beautiful lipstick though. I'm happy to still have it in my collection. I also did not complete my Anastasia Beverly Hills contour wand. This is in the shade Mink. This is what she's looking like. I think I only used, let's see how many times I used this one. I used this one 55 times in this project. I do think I have some progress pictures for this one. I'll see if I can put those up for you. But yeah, we did not quite manage to complete this one either. I'm okay with that one as well, especially now that ABH has discontinued this beautiful contour stick in favor of a contour stick that purports to be dewy. Who wants a dewy contour? Not me. I don't know who made that decision. And I don't know, maybe it's not how I'm imagining it, as something that's going to be really kind of emollient and slidey all over the face. But yeah, it did not sound appealing to me at all. So I am glad to continue to have this formula for a little while longer. So those are the ones that I did not complete. In total, I managed to complete 34 of 50 products in this project. That is a total of 68% completion, especially for these long-term projects where I'm mostly focusing on completing products and getting them out of my collection. I felt like anything beyond 50% was a real win. So 68, I'm super pleased with 68%. Obviously, I have already started my 50 Shades of Black project pan. One of the things that I am going to be doing differently, and I think I mentioned this in my intro to the 50 Shades of Black project pan, was one of the things that I'm trying to do a little bit differently is that I'm trying not to roll everything in at once, because listen, this is where I was tracking everything. And this was just, it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming having to track this many products. And it's already taken me, like, I've already been filming for like an hour and a half to go through all of these products, and having to do that every single month as part of the update was just, it was a lot. It was a lot. So with the 50 Shades of Black, I'm definitely going to be rolling things in. I'm going to be rolling fewer products in at a time, working on those ones, and then rolling in more as I'm able to complete some of those products. So hopefully that will work a little bit better for me. I will be a little bit more consistent with my tracking and a little bit more prompt with my updates. So that is the goal. I really did enjoy this project. However, I don't think I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'm a little out of practice. I don't think I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the creators of this project are Jessica Lee, Amanda, and CeCe. This is a Pantastic ladies collab, like many of the projects that I'm involved in. Really, really have enjoyed this project, and I'm very pleased with the amount of progress that I was able to make on these products and the percentage of products I was able to complete and move out of my collection. And that is it for my 50 Shades of Brown project pan. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.